All right, we're back. We're live. Hey, everyone. Douglas here. Welcome back to the MMT Macro Trader live stream. I'm back. Bijou's back. I'm feeling great. My voice has returned, kind of,
even
for
better,
the most part.
Stronger.
Ooh, yeah, it feels good.
Sexier.
Yeah, it feels good. I got an octave lower. Is that what that is? Is that how you say that? Anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah, man, I'm feeling good. I'm glad to be back behind the microphone and
Yeah.
for the most exciting...
Text.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
Go ahead. No, the texture and the timbre. There's words to describe this.
Yes, Well, yeah,
Yes,
your daughter's
audiophile
in the music world, and so that probably means you have some knowledge of the music world.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, we're back at it, man.
but
I'm excited. I'm excited. You know why I'm excited? Because
What?
I've just been right. I mean, this is just going to be a victory lap. This is going to be a victory lap. I got back at the workouts yesterday. I did some cardio today, like some moderately real cardio for the first time, and I just getting my legs ready to take these freaking victory laps because I'll tell you what, man. I mean, everything that we've been calling for has been playing out pretty much verbatim. Crap, even the bad stuff is playing out. The sell-off we're seeing right now, we continue to see the Fed think they need to increase inflation. They're going to increase inflation. They're going to increase rates, which is only going to perpetuate the inflation thing. We're starting to see oil take off. We have a lot to talk about tonight on that front alone. We got 2 weeks to make up. So, Brian Engler, welcome, man. Hamel, welcome. Hamel has the distinction, the honor of being the first person to make some, I don't know what they call it in GitHub world, but he made an update to my crappy code that I posted. What do they call that? Not a fork, but patch. I don't know. But yeah, he contributed to the stuff that I posted. If you didn't watch the most recent video I had on the channel, it's not getting the traction that I thought it would, but I think it's pretty darn good. A pull request. But you did pretty it up nice for me, man. I appreciate that. And one of the things I did is I posted the code on the GitHub. So if that is something that you're interested in, you can get that. And it's pretty handy if you want to see the seasonal distribution of any given equity, so or indice. But anyway, Bijou, how you doing, man? How's the last 2 weeks been?
Yeah. Not too bad. Just dealing with students. It's the exam rush end of the year, so quite a few requests to handle there.
End of the year. You guys must be on a different calendar than the U.S. Then is that?
It's the panic. It's panic time.
Okay.
You know when the students are looking forward to they're not looking forward to the exams, but their parents might be, and so they're not getting the grades they want. That sort of thing. It's this time of year is when the panic starts.
Okay. This.
Yeah,
I mean,
terrible thing when you think about it.
In the U.S., we're just kicking off the school season. Are you guys?
Right.
Are you guys at the end of it, or is that how that works?
The season, the school year finishes in November, December.
For you guys, okay.
Yeah.
Interesting. What you were going to say, it was a terrible thing.
Yeah, that's interesting. Oh, terrible thing to have them stressed about learning because it's learning for an exam.
Yeah.
I love tests and exams. They're good diagnostic tools, but not as a way to sort of label a student or to not as a motive for learning. They should be. The way I do it is for the teacher. So when I was doing some lecturing, I was getting the students to write journal portfolios, and it just about killed my shoulder because I didn't have my computer set up or desk set up or something like that quite right. And so I was doing a lot of typing and using the mouse and all that to download their papers, their journals, and type comments and all that. It's much more intensive scoring testing process or assessment process.
Yep.
But it's pretty rewarding, and it was really good results, and the students sort of more relaxed about their learning, and they learned more diverse things, and it was a heck of a great thing to do. Except kind of like the slower students who weren't good at English, I only realized in retrospect that it probably wasn't a great deal for them they like to be spoon fed, and sometimes you have to spoon feed someone who wants to be spoon fed. So I kind of neglected that. But yeah, just taking the stress off exams. It was almost like it was kind of, I don't want to say homeschool because I don't really know how that works, but it was just more relaxed and just a richer experience is what some educationalists talk about.
Yeah. That makes sense. Yeah. We got some more people rolling into the chat. Josh, welcome back, man. Eugenio, welcome back. Josh, thank you too. I'm glad to be feeling better myself, man. I could not talk last Wednesday. I woke up and my voice, I whispered for an entire day. My wife was thrilled. She's like, this is the best I've ever heard you sound, Doug. If you can keep that up, our marriage is going to be great. I could only nod my head. Yes.
Hey, so for your victory laps, are you like a 400-meter runner or a miler? Yeah. It's like Jakob Ingebrigtsen or
I don't know
Karsten
I don't know who any of these people are.
Ingebrigtsen.
I can't do long distance. I don't know. My victory laps will be
400 meters.
Yeah.
Can you manage the hurdles?
No. My sprinting speed wasn't bad. I wasn't great. 100-meter economic sprinter. Yeah.
And the MMT sprint, we'll figure you out. You might be able to actually do the MMT hurdles.
But to be fair, my victory lap is when I kind of saunter around, right? I mean, I won, right?
I'm getting confused with the race and
yeah. I already won.
Already
so the victory lap could be any sport at this point. Actually, when I think of victory lap, for some reason I think of like hockey, and they're lifting the Stanley Cup, go around in circles or something like that, right? Yeah. But
you got. Yeah, so you got the victory done, across the finish line.
Yes.
The Bob Murphy debate is going to be out soon for the public.
Very, very soon. Yeah. Let's see it. My show number was 291, and he just released 2 days ago episode 290, and he reached out to me and said it would be out soon. So I promised him both of our sides, or at least my side, the MMT side, would certainly have very, very tactful. What are some of the adjectives that I use? Very diplomatic, quality debate coming out after the congenial debate. Certainly coming from the anonymous Twitter accounts too, right? The anonymous ones really do their best to stay above reproach. So BobMurphyShow.com is where that will be. I think he's got a YouTube channel and a handful of different places you can find his podcast. But that'll be coming out this week. So next week during the live stream, we can roast me for how I should have done better during God, I don't know if I'm going to be able to listen to it though. I think it was pretty long too.
I only had one little gripe, maybe two. But they're good ones. They're like worth going over because you want to get the framing right when you do another sort of debate. But I don't know. Does it? What I would suggest as a kind of a better angle? Would it work with the Austrians? I don't know. We'll have to wait and see. But is Josh? I don't think Bob was denying us your existence. Right, it was just that he has this long delay, long release.
Yeah. He said his audio guy, I think, went on vacation for the summer, and that got him backed up a little bit to get these rolling. So he had a bit of a backlog. No, Bob actually called me a guarded friend on Twitter. He actually referenced me as he has a guarded friendship with me, and that he's been checking out Minsky. One is, as Ty's pointed out. Let's see. Yeah, my little thing is back. That's good. That makes me happy. And the little pop-up is working. He's coming on Ty and Steve Keen's stream, and I had mentioned the Minsky model and the endogenous cycle, and kind of the need to look into that. So yeah, he's receptive to that, and I do think actually, I mean, that is where I think the world of at least the heterodox, the broader post-Keynesian heterodox and the Austrians can come together, is that we are both in agreement that the government, for better or worse, can cause the business cycle to play out, right, in very disadvantageous manner for the public. Of course, we just know that the Austrians have it backwards. It's not the Fed artificially suppressing interest rates that creates the boom. The boom's going to happen regardless. Anyway,
imagine it. Yeah, I mean, if even if they just look at a basic Minsky model, it's like it's plain. You can just see it. And if they use Steve Heath software, you could actually see it. Like even if you're mathematically not so literate, you see it in the wiring.
Yeah,
they should be able to. They should be really into that. And
I would think
if they disagree with some of the wiring, well, let's just change that and see how
rewire
it
it.
out.
Exactly.
And compare with reality.
Exactly.
And then you've got the fact that, okay, so this is one of my corrections to you. I don't want to do maybe a few spoilers here, people.
That's fine. You know what? Actually, I mean, if you give some corrections now, so when they listen to it next week, they can at least think, oh, was Bijou right or not? Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So one is about deficits. It's like just don't need to worry about them. You let the deficit float, right? Because you're on you want to stabilize prices, and so you've got to let supply float. It's a monopoly position.
Did I say you should worry about the deficit?
Something like that. You're talking about Stephanie Kelton, and I think Bob was a bit unfair to her, and I think you could have defended her better.
I've never touched her work though.
You sounded like you were having such a good time. It's like you were just man, and you said the sort of semi-correct thing. I think I'd say on the deficit, but I think you want to when you get a chance. When you get a chance with these guys, you want to kind of emphasize some of the.
I'll have to re-listen because I don't even remember Stephanie Kelton coming up, but maybe
came up just briefly.
Okay, maybe
it was one of the things that sort of like just probably I was, more hypersensitive to that kind of moment.
Okay,
because they're very rare. It was a really good discussion, and the other one was like when he asked you like what is MMT? Can you give it to me in a nutshell? You just have to say it's a recognition that the currency is a simple public monopoly and all of the consequences.
Yeah.
And so, you'd think that the Austrians would understand that, right? Well, I mean, they could understand it. They have a capacity because
I think they do understand it. I just don't think they like it.
They're often on about it. They just don't like it. Exactly. Yeah. So that was the point. So. That was all.
I'll have to keep it. I mean, I do know that it's not. I get the public monopoly thing. It's just not. I don't know a good analogy to kind of an analogous way to put it. I get that it's a very important piece to the MMT puzzle. I just don't see it. Actually, it's like a foundational piece. I just don't think that it would click with anyone.
Really?
Yeah, personally. I don't know.
Man, it's totally foundational.
I understand that it's. I understand
everything follows. Like everything follows from it. Everything.
I understand. I understand that it's foundational. I just don't think it makes any sense when you say it to anybody.
Really?
Yeah.
They don't understand monopoly.
What's that?
That's it. Well, then they don't understand.
Yeah, exactly. I
guess that's the problem.
I don't think anyone understands what a monopoly is. Yeah.
Well, I guess when you do a Minsky model with the government sector in there, that's the thing that you're going to be essentially modeling. So I don't know. I guess you want to defend that position. It's like, why do you have the government doing this on the balance sheets, on the godly tables? And you say, well, it's just a reality. They're the monopoly issue of the currency.
Yeah. And I don't think anyone would disagree with that, though. I don't think anyone would necessarily say like, no, this isn't how it operates.
Well, did you get a chance to look at Warren's recent GIMS talk? Because that was pretty wide ranging.
I did. I think he hit some really good points. Yeah, there were a few things that he said that I really thought were well stated and kind of some new ways that he's formulated a few things. He also said, God, I wish I took notes on this, man, because he said a few things. And I'm like, God, dude, I'm absolutely tracking him right now because they are things that I've felt. I mean, they were. I'm gonna have to re-listen to it for next week because there were a few things. I'm particularly that I've been particularly focused on. One of them is, and we went over this during the last live stream, is just MMTers making bad economic calls. Like I just listen, if you're an MMT activist, by all means do everything you can to get the word out there about how the economy is structured. That's great, right? If someone says, how are we going to pay for it, by all means explain to them that that's kind of a dumb thing to say. But when you start spouting off about the economy crumbling, you got to be very nuanced.
Cringy. Yeah.
Because it's...
it's a cry wolf thing.
I do think... and I think that's kind of it, right? I mean, I'm not... Actually, this is one of the things I wanted to talk about tonight. There was a Twitter post about the wealth distribution by percentile group in the U.S. I brought this up. One of the guys I really like on Twitter, who's we've chatted a bit, Bill. I don't know if he calls himself an MMT or not, but I mean, he definitely understands the monetary lens that is MMT and applies as such. And he was just talking about how the bottom 50% is in a much better spot than they were after the great financial crisis. And then there was a follow-up post by another guy I really like, Mike Green. Oops, that's not the one. That's not the one. Well, I don't know where it is. Either way, Mike Green follow-up is like, no, you're wrong. And I just think they're looking at two different facets of the wealth distribution. And I get the activist point, right? I'm not like I'm not against the activist. I'm not trying to go against the activist point. But from a macro perspective, we're in a very healthy economy. And again, the best analogy is we're nice. Thanks for posting that. We are, the frogs in the kettle while it's heating up, and we just don't realize it, right? And thanks, man. First it's going to be the bottom 50% that feels it. Then it's going to be, and obviously if the bottom 50% is feeling it and the top 50% is not feeling it, right, feeling the heat, the top 50% have a larger voice and they're not going to complain about anything, right? But, eventually then the next 10% feels it, right? So now 60% feel it. All right, so maybe the 40% still outvoice the 60%. So nothing still gets done politically. Then the 70% feel it, and the 30% is still outvoicing them. Then all of a sudden it's like 80%, and that's when crap really hits the fan, right? That's when there's no turning back. And to me, that is, and in the meantime too, right? Because of the way the dynamics work, things are going to look progressively better. Each step along the way, we're gonna get the economy is gonna look better and better because instability is upwards. Right. I mean, that's like the most important thing. And to me, the activists who, come after me, who are then just spouting off bad macro, that's the message that they should be getting across. Bijou, I'm going to let you jump in and just say, but Ty, thanks for the super chat. I appreciate it, man. For posted graphs right way. Thanks, man. I appreciate it. And I've been hopefully you've been liking the stuff I've been sharing on Twitter, and we'll keep it coming. We'll post a few nuggets here or there every single week. But thanks for the super chat. And I got the TV back. Oh, you can't even see that here. And I got the TV back behind me, so now it'll show up. now that ChatGPT has like everything imaginable, where you can take pictures and have it do stuff. I'm going to have it write me a nice little API for Yahoo Chat and get it plugged in and have something fun happen with the lights and the TV or something. So when I get some super chats,
all right.
some horns going to go off of my house. Okay, man. All right, you were going to say something though. About.
Was I? I
cut you off.
What it was.
Okay.
There's been a few good highlights apart from Warren's talk, which is great. So maybe we could highlight a few of those and boost them here. One was, firstly though, with what Hamel's comment. Again, that was another thing that Warren mentioned in his recent talk about how the job guarantee, really should be thought of as a buffer scheme. And I just really love the hardline Mosler point that if we want good stuff done and we want government to be doing things that cannot be done for profit, then don't use the job guarantee scheme.
Yeah, that was helpful.
Stop saying it's for the good stuff. It's like the job guarantee scheme is a buffer, and it's like you don't want it to be very large, but it can always act as a buffer because it's just a floor. Anyone goes out of private sector employment or highly skilled government sector employment, and they've got the job guarantee to work on, and it can be very progressive and very good because you can work for all the non-profits and whatever, do good in your community that no one else wants to hire you for profit or for government sort of skilled jobs, plus the retraining and all that. It's like a training scheme, and that framing is just, to me, so good because it's a little bit apolitical. It's just and you might criticize it a little bit technocratic perhaps, but it's the good type of technocracy is what I would say. And you could always put the sort of humanist, compassionate leftist angle on it if you want to, but the function of it is, I think, the most important thing is the function of the job guarantee. It's not like a anti-poverty program.
Yeah, exactly.
But it is
exactly.
It acts as an anti-poverty program for sure.
It's just it's a monetary mechanic that is necessitated because of the way the system is set up. Yeah, I mean, and if you just leave it at that and let anyone insert their kind of moral politic into it, I think it works out a lot better. I do think a reframing of the job guarantee would just be the U.S. has a full employment policy, right? I mean, it's a backdoor way of getting a job guarantee in. I don't know. Yeah. I know when people say job guarantee, 80% of the public is like, no, thank you. That's not something I want the government into. And so I do think you got to be. I don't know, it doesn't matter if you're careful.
No, it polls really well. It polls better than a UBI, but
I mean amongst leftists. I mean, not.
No, it's good. It's like I think who was it? I forget who was it said it, but conservatives love it, right? Because they.
I would completely disagree.
They want people working.
What's that?
No, a lot of conservatives love the idea of getting people working rather than taking an unemployment benefit.
Okay.
It's that sort of mindset.
Hold on.
You get something for the unemployment benefit. You get people doing things.
If it gets phrased, are you against unemployment benefits? Then
I don't know if it's phrased that way, but you could allow people to think that way. Okay, so that's another podcast that was happening in the last few weeks or so. It was John T. Harvey on MMT podcast. I mean, I don't totally agree with it, but I kind of get where he's coming from. Is that he's like, he doesn't care how people support a job guarantee or ZERP. If they support it for whatever reason, he's like, okay, I'll take that. But there is so much politics involved in blocking a lot of these just very sensible policies that you do have to be very careful about how you frame it. And if you frame it in too much of a liberal lefty thing, you're probably just boosting the support from the people who would already support it. And you're sort of like putting off a few of the conservatives because your framing is just too, too compassionate. I don't know.
Yeah. So I looked at, but from their perspective, the government would be distorting the private market. All right, Josh, I looked it up. I see a couple articles from The Hill, so I'll look into these.
I think the market distorting people. I don't know. I think they're a minority mostly, maybe with the exception of the UK and the USA. Although I think the UK, if you look at how close Corbyn got, and he just got totally thumped because of his stance on Brexit and all that. He he had massive support. So it's like you would get massive support for it in the UK.
Yeah.
It's just that in the USA and the UK, the Tories have these very loud voices and these megaphones, and so you get this. If you're only looking at the media, you get this distorted impression, and you could easily think that we've got to be extra careful how we frame job guarantee policy and that sort of thing. But I still think the USA has just a huge sort of populist base of people. These are all the people who voted for Bernie and then jumped and voted for Trump. That's quite a few million number of people. It's quite crazy to think about that. I mean, it still blows my mind a little bit, but that's what happened. That's what happened in the USA. Probably nowhere else, right? No other country. I don't know.
Let's see. What else we got for tonight? I do want to talk markets. Actually, you know what I'm going to do? Ghost on the Half Shell. Welcome.
Talk markets. We can also go back to Charles Hayden and applied MMT.
Ooh, yeah. I haven't had a chance to listen to that. I got to get on that. Yeah, I got to get on that. I got to listen to that. What was I going to say? I did want to point this out. All right, I'm going to bring up the wealth by wealth percentile group thing. Yep. And one of the things that really kind of intrigued me when I was looking at this, just in terms from a kind of a market perspective, I'm seeing Neil's comment. Can you do a balance sheet analysis of a coordinated Fed Treasury versus a unified Fed Treasury? Are you asking what would it look like if we just effectively got rid of the Fed and made the Fed just as the Treasury? What would that end up looking like relative to what we currently have, where there's like a TGA account with the Fed? Is that what you're looking for?
Yeah, let us know, Neil, because there's also Eric Tomoyne did a whole podcast on that.
Is that okay? Is that maybe where it's coming from? Hamel, what's the government shut? Okay, government shutdown is now at 80%. So let's see, shutdown at 80%. Where's the link for the amount of time that it's gonna shut down? I don't see the link for the amount of time. Give me 1 second to look it up. So here's the thing. I've been talking about this in a couple of recent videos, and actually, Warren Mosler actually reached out to me on this point, and give me 1 second. Government shutdown length. There we go. I found it. So Warren reached out to me on this, and the shutdown length is 14 days right now. So 80% chance of taking place in 14 days. So his point to me, and this is kind of interesting, is to actually look at the flows after prior government shutdowns that have taken an amount of time to play out. And his point was that given no shutdown in a world where no shutdown took place, that you actually got more spending because the shutdown ended up taking place, because it cost money to shut down the government and then reopen up the government. And, various federal parks and whatnot, right? I mean, it takes money to kind of shut down and start that up, and you actually do see this after every government shutdown. There is a selling that takes place. That we're kind of seeing that leading into it, and then you see a massive rally out of it, right? And so that's exactly what happened from 2018 to 2019 sell-off, and we're kind of seeing that. So I think this is what I told the subs, the Patreon subs, that I think we're going to get a fear sell-off leading into the government shutdown that coincides with the already weak, kind of brittle market that we were in from the September tax drain. We've got that sell-off, and if we end up getting a closure heading into October, we might get a little, kind of a bit of a dicey situation heading into October still. But then the flows are just going to, come right back online. You're going to get a massive back pay that's going to take place, and even then, if you think about it, right, anyone can kind of, for the most part, anyone's got a month's worth of savings, right? So if the government shuts down for a month, you're still going to be able to make your mortgage. The flows aren't going to stop. You might have to pull out the credit card and that sort of thing to pay for groceries for a week, but you're then going to get back pay on your prior paycheck, and then you're going to get your next paycheck, so you're going to get this influx of cash. So you actually didn't, all of a sudden just see this little pop in flows that will take place, and I think it kind of makes sense, and that's kind of what I'm expecting to play out. I think sometime early to mid August, early to mid October, we'll see flows really kick in. We will have that massive drain on October 16th, tax drain that will play out, and I bet that'll be about the bottom. We might get stuck in a negative gamma rut up until OPEX as well. So I mean, there's some variability to when this bottom might end up playing out, but it'll be a good opportunity. Here's actually a good place for me to plug the Patreon. If you are an active trader, active investor, I do have tools specifically for this moment to see when things kind of kick back into full gear. And when it would be higher probability that the kind of the longer term rally continues versus not. We've got those tools. Bijou, I'll let you get a word in, and I'll actually pull up one of the tools that I look at just to kind of show it off in terms of what I'm looking for.
I wanted to just interrogate you a little bit on that, and the timings as well. So when the government shuts down, Warren and you were chatting about maybe how that increases the government's net spending
when it's all said and done. Yep.
But is that afterwards? You mentioned the back pays and all that comes in as a bit of a spike. That's because of the shutdown, right? They've stopped. I don't know. They haven't hired the parks people or whatever.
Correct.
Is that how that works? And so during the government shutdown, there could still be a dip in government spending, but then it shoots and it goes back up. There's a sort of a boost. Is that
correct?
Is that right?
Correct.
Right?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So you figure. I mean, I think the way you look at it. Yeah. So I mean, you figure, you gotta hire in. You run a national park, right? And normally it takes 10 park rangers to run the park, right? But to get the thing shut down fully, you gotta hire 30. You gotta bring all 30 park rangers in and pay them overtime to make sure that every gate is locked, every lid is shut. Everything is prepared to not have anyone take a look at it, right? So you get a bunch of overtime when you prep things to shut down. And then when everything opens up again, you got to pay a bunch of overtime to get everyone to undo the locks and open the gates and pull the tarps off that they might have put down in preparation for not being able to watch after things. So, yeah, when it's all said and done, and there is back pay, right? So, they wouldn't get paid during the shutdown.
But the wider point is, the parks being just an example, is, the government does a whole lot of other stuff.
Correct. Yeah, it would all get affected. Yeah, that would all get affected like that. Yeah. So now the other thing too is, and actually ChatGPT was really helpful on this, and it linked everything too. I mean, it gave me some really good sites as well, but I kind of chatted with it for a while, and the vast majority of spending kind of continues on, and the real important stuff as well. So by real important, I mean the stuff that impacts the rich the most, continues the most, right? Yeah.
I think the Treasury, the Fed is still churning away.
Yeah.
So there was one of your Patreons on Twitter, dropped a comment, what exactly is going to shut down, what spending will actually continue. And so, I just said I couldn't really tell because I'm not a USA expert, but that kind of partially answers it, right?
Yeah.
There's going to be a change in the type of spending. There's going to be, it actually costs the government, to in both real terms and nominal terms. They're going to have to push out a few bucks to get us sort of handle a shutdown. And then the boost afterwards and all that. So that kind of it's a slight change in some of the direction and quality of the spending, and the services might get some services might have to close for a little bit, right?
Yeah.
And whether that impacts the economy greatly is kind of debatable.
So my thought would be it'd probably take more than 30 days of a shutdown. So I mean, if we got close to like 60 days of a shutdown, I think at that point you could see a potential risk to the economy. So it is one of those sell the rumor, buy the news sort of thing. So
is that chart that you had up before? Did that show the length of all the government shutdowns previously or something like that? Was that what it was? I couldn't quite see. It was a bit fuzzy.
No, it was just showing. It was just showing. If you Google,
did you have any idea of what the longest government shutdown was in sort of modern times?
The 2018 one was 30 days, I think. U.S. government shutdown. Right. Wikipedia page.
It's not getting anywhere near close to your estimate for how
but then again, what was I gonna say?
The 2018, did you?
List of federal funding. Okay, here we go. All right, 1976. We went 12 days, 14 days, 10 days. 19 days. Some of these had partial spending. 13 days, 1 day, 4 day, 4 day. None of these are big. 95, 96, 21 days.
95, 96.
Yeah, there we go. I mean, I think this is the longest one. Was the 2018, 2019. We had a huge sell-off starting it off.
250,000 people furloughed.
Yeah.
And then...
I think
other shutdowns where more people were furloughed in some of the other shutdowns for like a day. That makes sense.
So anyway...
Interesting. Oh, thanks for that.
I don't think it's going to amount to much unless it gets. But then, that's what I was going to say. But then again, I mean, we got some absolute nut jobs in Congress right now. So
more nuttier than in the past.
I could see things. Deteriorating.
Nut level is high. Anyone with allergies, beware.
Web freaks, man, welcome. Thanks for dropping by the chat. All right, I wanted to talk about the post that Bill made and get back to the wealth by percentile group. And here's what I found really, really interesting is I went to the bottom 50% here, and this is kind of the point that I got it, guys. Hold on one second. This is the thing that I kind of found interesting, at least with the wealth. The bottom 50% in terms of total aggregate nominal wealth was at 1.59 trillion and peaked in Q4 2005 and would slowly dissipate up until the great financial crisis, right? So the wealth of the bottom 50%, which the reason I bring this up is my theory is slowly but surely, if higher interest rates are going to have an issue on the economy, right? If they're going to negatively impact the economy, it's that they undoubtedly impact the poor first, right? So it's they impact the poorest first, and then slowly but surely everyone gets impacted, right? Because at the end of the day, you just can't buy your groceries on credit cards for that long, right? Like, I mean, so the poorest have, whatever credit they have available, they have to buy their groceries first on credit, and then slowly but surely that makes its way up the line, right? Where it really does just dampen demand, and the trickle down effect just is lagged, and it's not strong enough.
And prices are robust. Prices have an asymmetric change. They tend to go up far more than they go back down. They don't follow a complete cycle.
Ty wanted me to bring up share. The reason I don't think share tells is it tells a story. The share of the wealth tells certainly a better macro story for policy determination and for what actually affects wealth distribution by percentile group. But I think the aggregate level shows kind of the finance picture of what it will actually affect the macroeconomy, because one of the things you'll see, Ty, is to your point, the massive private debt boom during the 90s, versus then the growth that we've seen that has been far more precipitated by the fiscal expansion post Great Financial Crisis, is that the fiscal expansion increases the share for the bottom 50% versus the private debt cycle. So I know the point you would want to make based on the share percent. You'd absolutely be right. But if we go back to actually looking at the actual dollar amount, we start to see the deceleration take place starting in Q4 2005. Now, if I bring up the top, we'll just look at the top 10%, and this pretty much holds through for really all the way up to the top 50%. But they continue to see nominal growth in aggregate all the way until Q3 of 2007, right? So you got effectively a 3-year period there where the private, or where the bottom 50% are starting to get crunched, but the top 10%, or in this case the top 1%, I should pull up the whole top 10%, the top 1% are not feeling any effect from this whatsoever, right? Their wealth is still increasing in that time period. And if we bring that forward into today and we look at using that same lens, we saw the big spike during the during the COVID bump, and now that cohort is effectively still at the same level. It's right at 100 trillion, and the bottom 50%, had the dip as well during the 2022 pullback, but again at the aggregate level is still very, very much in a very similar position as they were before the dip. So the 2022 dip. So we're not seeing a ton of damage being done at this point to the bottom 50%. And then on top of that, when you look at things like retail sales, when you look at kind of the other broader macro conditions, it just looks like the trickle-down effect is working at this point, and I think this is going to be the difficult part to get kind of the broader MMT or heterodox message out, is that this economy again just looks good. I mean, it looks good, and in reality, to a certain extent, it is good by the measures that most people use, right? And that's the trick too, is it's going to continue to look good for quite some time, but the water is slowly boiling. I don't disagree with that, and this trickle down situation is not a good thing.
Yeah, I think that's a pretty balanced view. Just recently, last month or two, I've had so many bad things happen, and it's like pretty much I can trace it all back to caring for people. And so I'm like, what do I do? What I just become a kind of a technician nerd and just stop caring for people? But I just can't do that. And so
welcome to the club, Bijou.
You just tell this. Yeah, I mean, we're all like that, right? And so you can tell the story, and you can still say how regressive it is. And so some of the other activists will do that, but they won't tell the balanced picture, which is that, trickle down works, in this particular way.
Yeah.
And, when is it going to stop?
Yep. Crew, I'm one of the things I'm realizing too is I think an ad just went out. So I apologize for that. I thought I turned off ads, but clearly that did not take place. Well, shit, no one can hear this anyway because they're being pushed an ad.
Okay.
So I'll wait a second to apologize.
Come back to us.
God, I thought I turned that off, but clearly not. Can I turn that off?
1,000th of a cent for that ad.
I know. I don't. I mean, I don't need. I certainly don't care about the. All right, I don't think I can turn it off at this point.
Eugenia just said not this end. Wonder what? That's a bit cryptic.
Oh, I can turn it off. All right, we're gonna turn monetization off. We're done here, and that's done. All right, monetization is now off. Yeah, that sucked. I apologize. Google needs the money apparently. Yeah. Luckily my ad blocker worked. Nice. Yeah. As I was streaming, all of a sudden there's just a dip in viewers. God, that really sucks. For any of you guys that got caught up with that. All right. Anyway, we're haven't seen the ad myself. Nice. We have so many YouTube users in the house. We pay the money for for the premium. So but that's my bigger point, and I think that I think that Bill is right in the discussion, in the sense that for better or worse, the bottom 50% are healthy-ish. I mean, healthy enough to withstand far higher rates.
But since it was Mike Green doing a critical analysis of it, did you ever sort of dig in and find out what this maturity wall effect is going to be?
The other point, the maturity wall. Yeah. This is something that we've been talking. We got to get Ryan on to discuss the maturity wall. Teddy Bruschi, YouTube Prime game. There is this situation, right? So Ryan helped me kind of understand this. This is a little outside of my expertise, but he did do. I think I've got the analogy I've got. I think is pretty spot on. But effectively, a ton of these corporations they issue bonds, right? So they issue debt to cover whatever costs they need, right? To get whatever cash they need, and one of the things I guess I didn't realize is that when corporations issue this debt, apparently they're called bullet bonds or bullet debt, that they have to pay. They have to pay back that debt all at once. They have to pay back the principal all at once at the end of the loan, and so there's a bunch of refinancing that's going to have to happen, and that the refinancing is going to hit and whatnot, and that's going to be problematic. And so that's for this page,
refinancing at higher rates.
Yeah, let's see. I think this will work, Ty. If I paste this, let me know, Ty, if this works. So they're gonna have to refinance at the higher rate, and this is going to negatively impact their balance sheet and all that sort of stuff. And so he's right, and it kind of is the point that I would make with all things interest rates, right? Is it's the first step in the cyclical nature of how interest rates actually play out, right? Is they do make the cost of doing business more expensive, and so that is correct, right? So effectively, all these businesses have a bill due, and they're going to have to get the cash for this bill to pay this bill, which is the prior loan that's coming to maturity. And there's this maturity wall, where all these things are going to come due pretty much at the same time. And so they're all going to go look for these loans to pay off this debt that they have to essentially pay the bill, and it's just going to have to happen at a much more expensive price, and some of these companies aren't going to be able to get that, and then you might get some sort of cascading event that would ultimately induce a kind of a recessionary, runaway recessionary situation. So that's kind of the Mike Green point. But I think what Mike Green misses is that there's always the next step, and that is a loan is determined by income. And for every basis point the Federal Reserve increases interest rates, that's a basis point additional of new income via the interest income channel that the Treasury is paying out to the private sector. And again, as I think the data shows, it is trickling down. I mean, it is trickling in to the private sector, right? And so it is going to higher wages. It is finding its way out there, right? We saw a pop in the wealth of the bottom 50%. Now we're seeing an increase in their wages. We're seeing unions demand and ultimately get increases for higher wages. So the trickle down effect is happening. And so the point I think Ryan was making to us is that, and we're seeing this in the headlines as well, is that these companies are seeing their credit ratings get increased. We're actually seeing their ability to get new loans improve into this space, and I think the final I think the final point that can be made on this is that even if we do see companies fail, we've seen stuff like the 2015, 2016, what was the oil boom and bust that we saw in 2015, 2016. A ton of oil companies got taken out over a 2, 3, 4 year period, and it didn't impact the macroeconomy one bit. I mean, it just chugged along, and we were probably at a more brittle, weak spot in the macroeconomy in that time period, more susceptible to recession than we were now. So. Again, right. It goes back to, it's going to cause a lot of pain, and from a policy standpoint, this isn't a good thing. But from a macro perspective, I don't see it.
Yeah.
I don't see it causing a recession. And,
Right. So
yeah, go for it.
You're right. There's also, I think Ryan mentioned something about, sometimes it's just a transfer from borrowers to savers. And so someone's got it. And if the prices are still, if inflation is still healthy, people are, still going to be spending more. It's just a kind of it gets into the monetary circuit kind of picture where it all just, it's going to keep sort of feeding on itself. Plus, I guess, you've got, well, for every bit of corporate paper or loan that's made, there's also the interest income supplied by the, supplied by the bank. And I guess that's the other point, is it's also bank income if they're making the loan too, and they're taking interest off you, and it's just all creates a need for more currency, and so it's gonna. That need for the currency is, I don't want to say it sort of offsets the inflationary effects, but it's kind of like just allows the system to just keep churning on, right? It allows the system to keep circulating until, I think this is what you alluded to, until the debt cannot be repaid. And what is that level? And that's a very hard thing to determine in the macro picture. Like, you can determine it for a particular household or any particular firm. You can tell, okay, now you're at a point where you've got to start paying off your debt, or I don't know, file for bankruptcy or whatever. But in the macro, that requires some of the macro numbers that what's his name, Richard Vague and Steve King's buddy sometimes talk about. They think they know what that level is. But until you get there, the economy as a whole, the macro is going to be able to just sort of kind of be sort of self-supporting.
Yeah.
And it's like it seems to be how it is. I know. I was interested in Ghost's comment there, that whether it's trickle down or labor action.
Yeah, Ghost.
I think.
Go ahead.
At some point, the wages have to go up, right? So whether they go up because out of the goodness of the hearts of the employers, or the fact that they have to retain employees somehow, they got offered them something, or whether it's actual union or other labor action, that all has to take place, right? For the inflation story to end, the last price that goes up will have to be the wage.
Yeah. I don't have the plague, but the cough is still just barely there, and I'm trying my best not to cough into the mic. In terms of that point, why I'm calling it trickle down, the reason I'm calling it trickle down is because is kind of a poke to the mainstream that when they increased interest rates, they're just giving money for free to rich people, right? So I mean, the reason their little gimmick hasn't worked yet is they don't realize they're handing off all this money to the rich people. Eugenio, Danger Zone, welcome, by the way, man. And Thomas, also welcome, man. I saw you sneak on in here. Thanks for dropping by. Eugenio,
I heard high interest rates called a gimmick. You heard it here first.
It is a gimmick.
Trader.
There's this idea that the more income one gets, the less propensity it is that they have to spend, and eventually the majority goes into savings. Where does that come from? There is a study. Actually, I asked Mike Green on this, and I read the study. I didn't read it. I'm sorry. I read the conclusion. I thought, I wasn't terribly convinced. I didn't exactly get the argument they were trying to make, but I think the conclusion they came to is that, yes, there is a propensity to save, but it's less than prior models had come to, like the conclusion they'd come to. So I'm not exactly sure why he shared it with me as a defense of the propensity to save. But I will tell you this anecdotally. I will tell you this anecdotally. Well, one, and two, even if they do save it, they're going to save it in assets that usually help banks' balance sheets, right? I mean, they're going to buy assets off bank balance sheets or buy assets. I mean, it helps the financial sector one way or another, whether they buy stuff or say stuff. No matter what, it helps the financial sector.
Well, what Warren's point was that Rolls Royce and Bentley sales,
and this is absolutely
healthy.
Okay. So we
that pays employees. The Rolls Royce and the Bentley.
the place we own is up in it's on what's called Little Traverse Bay. It's called Harbor Springs. So we own a place right on Lake Michigan there, right? And my family, they're pretty well off, and it's like a little private area there, and in this private area, it's amazing the strata there, right? So I mean, they're definitely affluent. And then there's levels of affluence that goes up, right? So when 2020 hit, right, and everyone got their stimmy money and everything like that, right? The entry level affluent people, they were all expanding their, kind of $1 million homes or $1 million condos and stuff that are in this little area. But then when you actually get closer to the beach, the mega mansions that are right on the beach, those are owned by billionaires, right? I mean, that's where the billionaires are, and so you got like the millionaires and the moderately affluent. They were doing all their spending in 2020. I kid you not, there are cranes. There is just massive construction going on. There are new houses being added. There's one guy that one of the
over the winter, please.
Yeah, and it is. I mean, it's insane. There's one guy, and it's kind of wild. He's got a lot of connections up the chain, and Trump appointed him to something. He owns 3 homes, and they're huge. I mean, each one of these homes is 10 plus million, right? That's just sitting on this lake, and he's building a 4th in a bridge to connect 2 of them right now. My point is, the wealthy are clearly spending, and they've clearly got their own stimulus as of late. Again, purely anecdotal, but up and down
underground bunkers that you can't see as well.
Up and down this billionaires row of houses, they are all expanding right now, and it is just construction out the wazoo. So again, purely anecdotal, but I'm in my own little carved out space of it. It is they are expanding, and and that's how trickle down works. Again, it's terribly regressive. There's no one that needs a fourth beach house. I mean, these things are empty most of the year. I'm not saying. I mean, I shouldn't say that. I mean, it's whatever. It's their wealth. They can spend it as they want. But we actually, if you're going to spend money the way the government is right now in a stimulative effect, right?
Yeah, that's the point.
You give it to the bottom 50%, not the top 50%.
Exactly.
I mean, that's just what it is. So,
absolutely.
You're going to end up with a lot better, social outcomes that way. So
a lot better democracy and social outcomes that way.
Yeah.
All the hidden costs of unemployment and poverty are massive, massive. And these rich folks with their mansions, they just don't see any of it. They become inoculated to caring for people.
Okay, another true story. This is kind of how disgusting it is. So again, this is so we're sitting at the beach, and this is just it. Okay, so the wealth that my family has comes from my stepdad, and he grew up with 2 immigrant parents, and I mean, he literally he did the American dream, right? He worked his ass off. He didn't have anything given to him, and he built a handful of companies that were very successful. And every Thanksgiving, he's the type of guy that donates his time to give meals instead of having a dinner with his, he's that sort of guy, right? Not a single part of him thinks that he's above anyone else, and so he's sitting there, and so of course everyone else in this little clique, a lot of these people think that that they all just have the same mentality about the poor, and you can see about 1.5 miles, 2 miles down. The public beach, right? That's down the way, and the one guy goes to my stepdad. He goes, "Look at all those poor people down there." So he says what he says. Oh, no. And my stepdad is just like, no, that's just not how I operate at all. Go fuck yourself, guy. But it's really true. I mean, it is. There is. What's really ironic too is his, in this instance, it was the wife who was actually the person who had all the wealth. The guy was kind of just a leech on the wife. It was. So yeah. Wow. I mean, with that being said, there are a lot of compassionate people that are wealthy, but certainly there is a sense when you get to that level that you actually think you earned it fully via merit, like that.
Yes,
that you
made it myself. None of it came from the government.
Yeah, or that there was no, the society as a whole didn't benefit you in one way, right? Yeah, he actually was. Josh, he was a sugar. He had a sugar mama, I guess. I mean, it was wild. His wife is a big CEO of a company, and I don't get it, but I won't name the company. But
wow.
Suffice to say, I won't be buying anything from there anytime soon. But then again, maybe she's nice, and maybe her husband just let it all go to his head. So,
well, they get worse. It's like you get some of them, and this is a real anecdote too. Some of them are like, look at all those poor people over there. Why do I have to look at them?
Yeah, can we move it further down the beach? Jose Raytheon. Yeah, that's not too far of a guess.
Anyway.
Yeah, that's my little anecdote of wealthy people going ham on the poor. Well, I mean, you saw it play out with the one guy, the finance guy that got over Twitter, where he's like, we need to see unemployment raised to 40%. The workers.
That was viral.
Yeah.
I just could not click on that. So the comments were sufficient.
Yeah, I mean, thankfully. However, as stated, that is what public policy is. I mean, I don't see how any monetarist could watch that video. Any neoclassical could watch that video and say, this isn't effectively what public policy is. That we need people to beg for jobs.
Yeah. Well, it's very much that's very much a current of thought in public policy. You can read that in Parliament. Yeah. Need to make people desperate for jobs, essentially. Not in such blunt terms, but that's pretty much the idea. Yeah, government has no capacity to hire people and give them jobs. It's all a drain on the taxpayer. So go out and beg for some shitty job from some boss. Otherwise you're just lazy. Yeah, that definitely is a strain of thought in a lot of government. A lot of policy documents and IMF stuff and all that. That's terrible.
Yeah. Anyway,
these are the times we live in. So this is why we do these live streams. And
yeah.
There's ways to work beyond that with some understanding and some pressure on these lousy politicians. Talk about politicians being sheep too. They will follow the herd of the average voter, which is why it kind of warmed my heart a bit that this. What was it now? I think I copied the link. I'll use the S word. Don't get triggered, everyone. Don't get triggered. I think he's a socialist. But anyway, he did this great. Maybe I didn't save it. Huh. Let me check. Anyway, there was this good overview of MMT, and well, while I'm talking about it, I'll try and find it. And Second Thought. There's a channel called Second Thought.
Oh yeah.
And I had it on our Discord. That's where I posted it, didn't I? I can probably grab it from there. And I think it's called something like "Why the Government Has Infinite Money." So right there, I quite like that framing. And he goes over Tony One Dime's. Well, he got a lot of source material from One Dime, Tony One Dime, and it was a really good overview of MMT, government financing policy and all that. And it's like 1.63 million subs, and the episode got 18K views. So, this seemed like just a dude who is a YouTuber who has some following, and I don't think he's an economist or anything like that, but such a good following, and to pick up on MMT, that's sort of YouTube media social clout, hopefully go a long way. Yeah, I mean, 18K views, it's not like a sports or entertainment level stuff, but you don't have to. The theory is, at least from what I understand, which might not be much, but what I understand is that the theory is you don't have to reach like a majority of people to get something like MMT, an MMT informed public policy in the kind of ether, in the zeitgeist where it is. You need, I don't know what it is, 30% or something like that, whatever it is, whatever the critical mass it is that affects real politics, that affects how politicians talk and how the news media talk. At the moment, they're still very much got it all backwards, and so there's still a lot of lifting to be done. But it was really good to see that YouTuber do that episode and get so many views. Yeah, I don't know what your thoughts are on that, but that was good to see.
Yeah, no. Anytime we can get the word out there, I do think in terms of, I just out of curiosity, Chad, I'm just going to completely change the subject. Out of curiosity, what do you guys watch this stream on? How many of you guys watch this on a TV? How many of you guys watch this on a phone, on a mobile? How many of you guys watch this on a PC or a tablet? Just out of curiosity, who's watching what, where? What kind of device? I know I can look this up in the stats, but I'm just kind of curious out of the laptop. All right. I do think that I do think that I just asked a question. Now I'm going to completely distract myself from getting proper. Yeah,
haven't got the proper poll gizmo up there.
Yeah, I could. I could put a poll. I'm just curious. And I kind of want the details too. I like that, like a laptop, an iMac, or a 10 million year old, 100,000 years, 1 million, all three. Okay.
Qualitative polling now, are we?
Ooh, yeah. Double bookkeep this. Yeah, I like it. I appreciate it, Ty. Phone. Someone just DM me a message of me on their big screen in the living room. So I appreciated how good I look.
And the purpose of this poll?
Me?
Yeah,
I was just curious. Someone just DM'd me. Sometimes I watch it on phone, Samsung Dex through my phone. Yeah, no, I was just looking good in someone's living room on their big screen, man. So I'm like, curious.
Liberty in their household. Okay.
All right, back on track. Yeah, I do think I'll tell you what. Oh my God. Okay, now Zero Shot's talking video games. You guys know that I have like severe ADHD. So I ADHD'd my own self, and now I got Zero Shot talking video games. Ooh, Counter-Strike 2 officially launched today. Yeah, the fact that I'm doing this live stream right now.
It's such a sacrifice.
It is. It really is. Yes. Yeah.
Nerds appreciate you taking the time out. So let's get back on track.
Okay, yeah, thank you.
You can have your gaming later. Because we do, I think we've got potential, right? Have we like officially publicly like joined forces with Applied MMT?
Well, I don't think we've publicly done it, but yeah.
Because they still got jobs, we're still doing our own thing, but we're sort of cooperating a lot, and it's really good.
How many people would watch me on Twitch? Bijou, I'm sorry, man. How many people would watch me on Twitch if I created a separate channel? Could I get some MMT supporters to chat MMT with me while I play games? I don't play Call of Duty. I play Counter-Strike. I play Counter-Strike. I'll do some VR stuff. I would do some
time. You should definitely do it. Put your two loves together. Yeah.
I would definitely do like VR when those games come out. Maybe I'd replay Alex. Maybe I could merge all. This is going to be all of it. I'm going to have my wife play through Half-Life Alyx while I talk MMT. So like I can get the
abuse their system of currency that you use in the gaming world.
I can get the gamer girl aspect. I can exploit my wife. I can I can talk MMT. We can get gaming all together, and
yeah, man.
Yeah, this is exactly.
Okay.
Exactly, Josh.
Well, but just be aware, I'm probably not up to speed to do your market recaps the way you do it. So you've got to give us a little bit of time here in MMT land, in MMT realist land. Yeah, no, I reckon also doing gaming and like really making fun of their gold currency type mentality could also be a thing too.
Speaking of the wife, 1 second, guys. Hold on.
There's some promising stuff there.
Sweet dreams, kiddo. She must have heard.
What's going on?
Yeah. She must have. She must have heard me talking about her because she just walked in. She's over here. You guys can't see her, but I'm gonna let her know what I just told all of chat, that we're gonna start gaming live stream. I've decided. No, but here's the thing. So we can
making promises.
Yeah, so we can mix. You should, guys. I wish you could see your face. We're gonna mix it all together right now. What we're gonna do is we're gonna live stream you playing Half-Life Alyx. We're gonna live stream you playing Half-Life Alyx, and I'm going to talk MMT, so I've got all my loves all in one place. We're going to do that this Friday, guys. We're going to do that. Can I get a confirmation from the wife? Can I just get into the mic? Can I get a yes, I agree? No.
Ain't
happening, guys. Ain't happening.
Chat.
All right.
How many people on chat just witnessed that?
Yeah.
You're getting yourself into some deep shit.
No.
Be careful.
We haven't dropped all of our viewers yet. In fact, I mentioned a woman, so now viewers are increasing. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, there goes your entire Friday evening.
Yeah.
You booked that out.
All right, we're going to get back on track. One of the things that I do appreciate about, that I do think has changed, it's kind of the cool thing, right? You don't get too many people that will say the government can't afford it anymore. In fact, I even saw Bob Murphy. He made a really good joke. And I even retweeted. Yeah, he made a good joke. I even retweeted him or tweeted at him that I appreciated his joke. I got to pull this up. But one thing you don't hear today as much is that we can't. I mean, obviously that there's going to be those on the right that are just going to ad nauseum say we don't have the funds for this. But far more people are a lot more careful when they say something when they say something is stupid. Good. Like we can't pay for it.
Right. Being less stupid is good.
It is.
What Neil Postman said education should be for it's, and this echoes your founding fathers in the USA, which I mentioned the other week, how it should, their idea of the purpose of its public education was to have a well-informed citizenry. Neil Postman always said it's an inoculation against ignorance. So I like that kind of negative framing of it. Yeah. Kind of cool.
Here's his thing. They Zero Hedge posted the debt surpassed 33 trillion for the first time, and then Robert Murphy, my man, feel the net private assets coursing through your financial veins. And I appreciated that. I mean, at least he understands what the national debt is now. I get it. He's still trying to poke fun at MMT, but this is the sort of MMT mocking that I can get behind right here. At least it's stock flow consistent mocking coming out of the Austrian camp. So they understand that we'll jump on them if they get the monetary right. So going back to the bigger point, I agree, man. Slowly but surely, you're just people are just not going to be able to get away.
Public consciousness.
Just saying things that just aren't true anymore, right?
Yes.
I mean,
that's right.
That we can't pay for.
It happens over time. Yep.
And then the other thing that it's going to do too is it's going to force, the non-MMT crowd like like the Austrians who want something like a gold standard, right? It's going to force them to reevaluate and reframe their gold standard, right? Because their argumentation so much depended on the fact that we're going to run out of money at some point, right?
Yes.
And now that that's undercut, they need to go back and reevaluate their argument. And when you do it, when you're forced to do that, that forces you, that breaks the cognitive dissonance, right? Or starts to maybe stab at it, and you're like, well, shit. If they're not going to run out of money, maybe something else that I thought had to be true, and maybe I should reevaluate that. And I know those are the steps that happen with my my own kind of journey. So I think we're on the right path.
In a way, exactly. Yeah, totally. And I think they kind of have a good starting point too, because they're focusing on the real resources. And they're always worried about inflation because they think it's eroding your purchasing power, so your real wage. But of course, once they understand the money story, that the money is not something you have to dig up out of the ground, and it's an IOU. Then there's the opportunity there for them to make some progress. That way, what you could do is you could sort of start off. This is just going to be a very cartoon sketch. Could start off as sort of Austrian schools, or someone who, really is worried about the real economy, real goods and services. But then you might figure out eventually that MMT has got the money story correct. Then you can go back to the real resources.
Yes.
Then you've kind of completed your learning.
Yes.
And I think that's where I would want to see Bob go.
Well, that's the thing. I would love an Austrian to argue that we just don't have the real resources to do the sort of plans that the Green New Deal is laying out, right? Because then at least we're talking in the same, right? Then we're all playing the same game, right? And then at that point, I might agree with the Austrians, right? Yeah, maybe we don't have the real resources, right? It does. I'll be the first person to admit that it does feel a little cringy when some of the advocates just list off this litany of
things you want to do.
Wish list items. And it's like, we might run into limits of the actual capacity of our economy to do all of this.
Still going to use oil. Can't get off oil just that quick.
Yeah. So
all that stuff. Yeah. The Green New Deal. Green New Deal people can be a little bit too rosy-eyed, and they need a bit of a slap in the face with the actual engineering science. But the point about that is that you've got to realize that if we're going to green the environment and green the economy, and did I say environment? The environment's already going. If we're going to green the economy and we're going to actually get over this terrible potential catastrophe that lies ahead, then you have to spend now. You have to create all the real resources that we need, and all the energy infrastructure, and that's going to take a hell of a lot of energy. So you're not going to be able to necessarily reduce emissions in order to now. You probably increase emissions in order to reduce them much later down the track. And if if the scientists are right, it's just like, there's no time to waste about this. You got to do the spending now. Why are we waiting? 10 years time, 20 years time, whatever the horizon is, it might be really too late for some pretty bad ecological consequences, right? So what is the delay? And it's because they don't understand the monetary system. There's no obstacle to governments issuing the currency to get that work done. And if you don't use your real resources now, it's only if you're going to talk about saving human lives and livelihoods on the coasts or wherever, the rainforest, whatever it is. If you're talking about saving lives, then you don't want to delay that. You don't want to push it out further, and especially not because you think you don't have the money. And the further you delay those decisions to immobilize the real resources, the more real resources, the more cost it's going to take you in the future. And people understand that argument when it comes to healthcare, preventative medicine and all that. And so why they don't see that in terms of the wider picture and the environment, again, I'll put it down to, this is stuff that needs to get into public consciousness. And I think, there's a lot of good people trying to get there, and slowly it happens. Just, cross my fingers that it happens fast enough. Yeah. So it's the real resources to MMT, back to real resources cycle there.
Let's see. We're seeing some people jump in chat. Roar and Aura, welcome. Teddy Bruce, I don't think I said hi yet. Danger Zone, I think I said hi. Zero Shot, welcome back. Been a while, man. Been a while. Yeah. Go ahead, man.
Oh yeah. Did you? Oh, you didn't listen to Charles Hayden's interview with Ryan on applied MMT?
I have not listened to that yet. I have to. Yeah.
He just went off on a. Ryan just let him talk, right? And it was so good. It was pretty juicy.
Nice. Good.
Oh, one highlight that I didn't put on the Twitter on that one was I don't want to do a spoiler. Should I do a spoiler?
Go ahead. I mean,
no, I'll just mention the headline, and you can listen to the rest of it. He got on the phone with Larry Summers. Ty, did you hear that one, Ty? Ty Keen's here in the chat.
I think I've heard him say that he has.
Oh, you've heard him say? Yeah. So Charles Hayden, he's out MMT Texan.
Yeah.
Got on the phone with Larry Summers a couple of times, hassling him. Yeah, it's pretty good. Good little anecdote there. What I liked about it was, or another highlight. I'll just mention one more, and then we can move on to another topic if you like, because you haven't heard it. But he kind of mentioned the framing or the story that, even when banks give out a loan, it's kind of like it's government spending in a sense. And so I took the time to just put a few highlights onto Twitter, and I was kind of pleased that a couple of people really didn't like that. I thought, that's a horrible framing. That's a horrible way to put it.
Yeah,
but
I did see people come at you a little bit. Yeah,
I just like that little bit of a troll, is to point out that that bank loans really are another form of government spending. It's kind of twisting the semantics a little bit, but I think it's a good thing if you've got an attentive audience who are not too sensitive about such matters.
Yeah.
To make the point. And,
yeah.
I've heard Warren make this similar point too, so I kind of like that. But yeah, it was a good talk. You should definitely take the time to listen to that sometime. I mean, it was for fun. I really just enjoyed that episode of Applied MMT. Good fun.
I will definitely be checking it out soon.
We should have Charles on our live stream sometime, maybe.
Yeah. I've been I'm getting back into some cardio as well. I've unfortunately, this kind of illness really got me off. Oh my God, Larry Summers in the chat, man. Thanks for joining.
Larry, get the sequence right, mate. Government spends first, then the tax return can come in.
Always glad to have you here. Let's see. What was I going to say?
Well, another thing was, did you get a chance to look at any of the clips from the congressional, whatever it was, testimony to the House Congressional Financial Services, whatever?
No.
On central bank digital currencies?
No, I haven't followed that all that much. I don't. It seems like a big.
Interesting.
It seems like a big non-issue to me, but maybe I should be paying more attention to it.
I hate to say it, but it does seem like a bit of a non-issue to me too. But I mean, cryptocurrencies are in the consciousness, and I don't know. But there are some good points. Okay, so the MMT guy there was Raul Carrillo, and he did a pretty good job. I actually don't agree with all of the Raul Carrillo stuff on that. But that's just me, I don't see a desperate need for a digital currency, because already the public banking, the banking system, not public, but just the banking system as a whole, it's not perfectly frictionless, and it doesn't necessarily always protect people in the right way. But you just want a payments layer, and you want protection for people in other laws. Not it doesn't have to be in the payments layer, right? But what do I know? Those guys at the Modern Monetary, what's it called? Modern Money Network.
Yeah,
they put a lot of thought into this, and so good for them, good on them to do this, and to at least put forward the MMT case for protection of privacy when it comes to payment systems. And it's good. I mean, it's good. He's stressing the fact that people always make the argument, we don't want the government involved in the payments layer, even if it's encrypted, because how do you trust the government's not got any back doors, right? And so the point is made that, but how do you ensure that a private payments layer doesn't have back doors? It's like, at least with government, you've got some sort of chance of regulatory oversight, and you could even open source the software, right? So there's already free Libre software from the GNU Free Software Foundation that can do private payments, which protect the buyer. The seller's information is not able to be hidden, so they don't evade taxes or anything like that. But it protects buyers, and it protects their anonymity, and all that stuff's free software. If you open source it, maybe the NSA or someone can put a backdoor in behind the scenes. They could fiddle with the code, even so, at wherever the code's being run, whatever servers it's being run on. But the whole discussion was just much better informed by that by the MMT guy. He's a good guy, Raul Curio. So
I know we've talked about this in the past, and the thing that just doesn't that I just don't understand is to legislate morality through the payment system.
The privacy.
Yeah,
I think they're trying to automate it in a way, which I get. I'm with you on that. It's like it gets to Cory Doctorow point. And Cory Doctorow has a few episodes on the MMT podcast with Christian Patricia, and he's really good. I mean, and he talks. He's kind of done a bit of analysis on it. He's thought more deeply than I have about it, and he points out that at the end of the day, however you analyze a cryptographic method to protect privacy in payment systems, and that it always comes back to human trust. And it's just fascinating the way he does it. He says it's really good. Though. You should listen to it if you can. Okay, so all this tech to try and make commerce more private, privacy respecting. It just turns out you cannot avoid at some point trusting another human being. You can't automate trust. And it's a fascinating thing if you catch Cory Doctorow on that. It's really good stuff. Yeah. Anyway, that was that little highlight.
Yeah, I think we're in agreement there. I will agree with. I mean, I will say this: the payment layer sits a little too close to the risk layer, right? Like it's kind of stupid that if there's a massive if there's a massive liquidity crisis, that means you might not be able to pay your mortgage or your water bill or your electric bill, right? Yeah. Like those, the fact that the payments that if we get a real credit crunch, that affects the handoff of payments. And I mean, we saw it play out in the 2008 financial crisis for a short amount of time. So if they can solve that, I mean, I agree that's an issue. Yeah. But the point that Ron Gray was making just never sat right with me. The whole prostitute point just didn't really just legalize prostitution if that's something society wants to make. I don't know. I'd like to. I'll have to because he seems. I mean, I've seen him get very animated about it. Yeah, on it, and so
he animated with me about it. But I was just cool. It's like I think in the USA there are cases for using weird, for getting protections in weird ways, like through the payments layer. But I just don't think you need that in most other countries.
But
and in the USA, you don't need it too much really either. It's a minor issue, right? So I don't know. Yeah, I agree with you.
I guess I just don't. I guess I just don't. I think what I don't understand, right? For let's just say the majority of the public agrees that prostitution should be legal, right? But yet, for whatever reason, it's just not going to become legal, right? And so therefore, you have sex workers who are at high risk and need anonymity on both ends of or on the seller's end of the transaction, right? For every instance like that, I think there are dozens of other instances where it's absolutely the government's business, and society would want the government to know what's going on in the transaction. That transaction should be tracked. I don't know.
Should be tracked. Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, I mean that's a good point, and that's why the GNU Taylor Taler is. I found it really good. I mean, maybe those GNU software folks don't understand MMT, but they kind of got the right idea about privacy. And just
real quick, Josh, hold on one second.
Yeah,
Josh, you said his Levy Institute presentation. Are you talking about Ron Gray made that case? Because I got to find this. I am a little curious. Go ahead though, Bijou, with your point.
Yeah, no, I'm not, but I'm receptive to all those arguments. I just want expanded democracy and transparent government. I don't want all these spook agencies, right?
Yeah.
And if we have that, we have a healthier society. Also, really great point you just made a few minutes ago is that and this is something I managed to get the chance to talk with Adam and Ryan on when they invited me on Applied MMT podcast, is that, Adam Smith and all those classicals, they had the barter story, and they had a whole lot of things that were misunderstood, including Marx and all those, they were geniuses, right, relative to me or you, or at least relative to me for their time, right? And we look back and we criticize them easily and laugh at them, but you shouldn't really do that, because you've got to put them into context of their time, of their day and time. And a lot of them were really, serious moral thinkers. They were sort of good-hearted people. And one of the things they were trying to do was sort of legislate morality. And I forget who it was now. Damn it. Anyway, I was going to name drop someone, but I talked about them with Adam and Ryan, and it's like the findings of current modern, psychology or behavioral economics / behavioral psychology of morality, that sort of thing. There's a sort of intersection there. The modern findings, Daniel Kahneman. I think it was Amos Tversky and Daniel Kahneman might have done this one sort of study, but then other people have picked it up. Is that the finding is if you use rules and structures to try and make people moral, it doesn't work. It often will backfire and have a perverse effect. So what you got to do is have a fair system in place. You have the rules, you have the structure, but you have to allow human beings to choose to act morally, as if they've got, I don't want to spook any physicists and materialists in the audience, but you have to, the better policy, the better rules, and this isn't just government policy, but any institution, is to allow people to make the choice, to have the choice. And it's not like total libertarianism or anything. You can have this. You have the support in place, all the public infrastructure and public services in place to make it easier for people to, you can get to make a moral decision, as if they had free will. Don't want to trigger anyone, but I happen to believe in free will.
You have triggered me.
Debate me later. Sabine Hossenfelder put out a terrible video on capitalism. So, just like, that just came, that was just a thought that occurred. I just had to throw that in there in case I forgot later. She's
I did.
I couldn't. One of the physicists.
I couldn't watch it. I couldn't. Yeah.
It was so cringe. But back on track with the morality is like, if you allow people to make the decision themselves, they will make the majority of people will make the good decision. And we get that even at a very, I'll just pick a very little micro example, which almost seems trivial. But if you have the support, if you have the structure in place, just to allow people to more easily buy fresh vegetables and fruits, they will, right? But if you put like all the advertising and put all your effort into focusing, getting them to buy, some sort of organic labeled products or what have you that are still processed foods, then they'll skip the fruit and veggies and they'll go to the processed foods. So I don't know how it is with you guys, but in my local supermarket, the fruit and veggies is the first thing you go in the door, and that's the first section of the supermarket. So I always do that bit first. That kind of thing, it just allows you to make a good decision, but it's not like forcing you to, and it's not legislating morality. I forget why I got on that theme, but anyway, I think I've finished. Any thoughts? Well, any questions in the chat?
Yeah, I mean the free will stuff. We don't have free will, but it's okay. That's all right.
We don't have free will to tell electrons, to change their behaviors. And electrons don't have free will. And I don't know what free will is. I remember having a good chat with you about this way back when we first met.
Yeah.
It's not like I know what it is. It's not like I know what God is. But I can still believe in these notions, and there's some logic associated with it. But you don't have to know the thing. Like people in the past didn't know what the heck a neutrino was. So eventually we uncover these things. But in terms of non-physical concepts and ideas like, the number pi or the number E or a particular algorithm or, whatever, any mathematical theorem or anything of that nature, the idea of a perfect circle, it's not a physical thing. It's a non-physical thing. So, what is it? Does it have an independent existence? You talk about Platonism and all that. And that's how I think about free will. We get it. It comes up. It's mediated by physics. But who the hell knows what it really is? But it turns out, it's a good idea to have a society where people act or imagine as if they've got free will.
See, I don't think it is. This is where I disagree. I think it's so much healthier to recognize that we don't have free will. Yeah,
it just doesn't work. It's
it works so much better. I think it's far more moral. It works so much better. Yeah.
Morality itself is tied to free will.
No.
It's separate the two.
No.
If you don't have free will, all the morals, all your decisions are just being determined.
Yeah, exactly.
You talk about determinism.
Exactly. Yeah. Okay. Let me. Okay. I got.
You don't understand the quantum mechanics, my friend.
No. I mean, quantum schwantum. I understand the quantum mechanics. Well, listen, I get. Okay. Let me just get a definition of free will, right?
That would be helpful. Yeah.
Do I have a poker chip in my hand, okay? Do I have the free will to decide if I'm going to drop this poker chip or not?
Yeah.
Okay.
For sure. In some sense, you have a free will to do that.
Okay.
Exactly how? Who knows?
Okay. If we rewound the universe and replayed it identical to this point, could I have made a different choice than I ultimately made? I didn't drop it. I just laid it back down on my desk. Could I have made a different choice?
That's not really a relevant question.
I'm just trying to get a definition of free will. I mean, are you saying
that's not defining free will? That's defining counterfactuals. That's a hoary nightmare of a philosophical topic, and you'll never get anywhere with counterfactuals. There's millions of texts in philosophy wasted on that. It's just not a relevant question. Could you have? I would say yeah, you could have, but it depends on where the source of your free will is, and it's not in physics. You can't find it in any physics. So I agree with you there. If you just have a physical materialist analysis, there's no free will. It's not an applicable concept for a physicist. I mean, it's not. It's just not.
Okay. So if all that exists is the material world that we can measure, see, etc., you agree there's no such thing as free will?
Yes, I agree with you.
Okay.
On that.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
all the action is at the boundary. That's why I say you don't understand the quantum mechanics, my friend.
Well, no, the quantum mechanics. No,
I'm prepared to teach you.
The quantum mechanics. The quantum mechanics would come in to say that even if everything played out identical, there could still be a different outcome that plays at that point, right?
Yeah, because quantum mechanics is measurement theory and it's non-deterministic. In that sense.
So, but that doesn't undermine free will. I'm sorry, that doesn't undermine the fact that it's still deterministic in the sense that, whatever process is
rolling the dice.
Rolling the dice is not. I mean, I have no control over that process. Nothing.
Well, no, you do. That would be your free will, but it's not a physical. It's not a physical process, right? It can't exist in physics. Like you say, it's just probabilities when it comes to quantum mechanics.
This is a good example, right? I'm gonna go off now on my tangent. There was that guy that had the brain tumor, right? He was apparently you guys in the chat might know this guy's name, and I might be botching the story, but I think the gist is right. He normal guy, and then all of a sudden he got fired from his job for looking up CP, and on his computer, apparently all of a sudden he had CP on his computer, his job, and he got fired from his job, and then his job called the cops, and the cops came over, and he had CP on his computer, and he ended up going to jail. And apparently this guy was an upstanding citizen, did everything right, in life, had kids, all that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
And as it turned out, he had this tumor grow on his brain in the exact spot that I
know the story.
Okay. So it's a great free will. It's a great free will question, right?
It is.
Fascinating. That guy had no. I guess this is where the lack, and we can all look at that guy and feel sympathy for him, right? Because.
Absolutely.
Whoever this guy was Jeremy or something like that was his name.
Yeah, that's right.
Sounds about But whoever this guy was, right? We can all feel sympathy for the sense that any of us could suddenly develop a tumor in our head, right? And all of a sudden,
but that only makes sense. Sympathy and all that. You're using words that are non-physical concepts. They're emotive. They're to do with the mind. They're not to do with physical reality. So they're not determined by quantum mechanics and physics, right?
Okay, so tell me.
I agree with you entirely.
Okay, so tell me how quantum physics makes this a free will choice that this guy should,
Quantum physics says nothing about free will.
Oh, I thought you just said, or quantum mechanics. I mean, quantum mechanics.
Yeah, if you understand quantum mechanics, you know that the universe is fundamentally non-deterministic, even though that the evolution of the probabilities that whatever system you want to use, wave functions or scattering amplitudes or whatever, that's all fully determined mathematically, but the actual measurement outcomes are not. Okay, so you either have to have some sort of many worlds view, and if you want to do many worlds, then I'd agree with you. It's like all this stuff, it doesn't make any sense because everything possible that can happen will happen, and that kind of just makes a total mockery of all our talk of morals and ethics and compassion and understanding, because it's all that's just what happened to me. I just happen to now have some compassion for other people, and that's why I do MMT activism. But it was all just one branch of the multiverse. It just makes a total mockery of it. But what the quantum mechanics doesn't describe our mental realm, the non-physical realm. It can't tell us, like whether the concept pi, the number pi, is a sort of Platonic entity, or it's just a total fiction that we make up. Fictional, because we can never compute or describe all the full decimal expansion of the number pi. It's just another way to put it is like pi is an algorithm, and all the irrational numbers are just algorithms. It's the only way we can sort of approach them is computationally is to.
All right, tie this into free will, for me. Tie it into free will.
Oh yeah. Well, okay. So,
okay, I guess here's the point.
Recognize that there's a non-physical realm, and that's where a lot of the determinism of the universe, if you like, comes from. But it's not from the physics, right? I don't know. I'm just trying to say that quantum mechanics doesn't give us any information about free will. It just says that it's a possibility that something else can act on physics. And the final thing I want to say about this is that the modern understanding of cosmology, which is really the sort of level that we're thinking about, the entire universe, is that you've got laws of physics that operate. They're sort of pretty much non-deterministic. Which means if you're given some boundary and initial conditions, you cannot predict the future. There's no deterministic future, but whatever happens with some sort of random probability, what looks like to us random probability draw from a distribution. But the modern cosmological understanding is that it's just like classical physics in a sense, that you can have the laws of fluid mechanics, but they're meaningless without initial conditions. And so it's all the action is on the boundary of space-time. On the boundary of space-time. That's where everything happens. And in the bulk, it's just like you can tell a story, like you said, it's just a fully deterministic story that's determined by boundary conditions.
So I still don't,
and whatever throws the dice, right?
I still don't get how this. I still don't get how this intersects with free will, but maybe we'll get there.
That's a longer road. You can't cover that.
Well, no, but I think we can. Okay, so here's my point. Going back to the guy
we have to go for
that got caught with CP, right? I think we can all look at that situation and feel sympathy for him, right? And we're like, maybe he shouldn't go to jail the way that the way that someone like a Joshua Duggar should go to jail forever, right? You look at a Joshua Duggar, but yet. If you peel the onion back far enough, someone like Joshua Duggar, who in all society says should be locked up in jail for the rest of his life, he had a terrible childhood. He was abused himself, likely. You know what I'm saying? I mean, his circumstances no different than the or the subway guy, right? I mean, again, we all just. Are just grossed out about these situations, but yet they're all in the same boat, right? I mean, if you look at all of their lives, the circumstances all played out for them to do these heinous things, right? And yet, for whatever reason, we have this sympathy for the guy that gets it's 40 years old, that has a family and has done everything right in life, that all of a sudden gets a tumor and makes the same bad decision. So, what do you do? My point is, from a free will standpoint, right? I mean, at least the utility of free will is that people have the free will to make the decisions that they make, right? And as someone who's, wants to get a society that ceases to believe in free will.
Wait a minute. Just wait on there for a second.
Hold on. Let me.
They don't get the decision. I don't agree with that point. They don't get the decision to choose what they like. No way. Free will is highly constrained, and that's why you have.
So you're not
for the guy because
you're not making the argument of you're not defining free will in the popular sense of the term. Then.
Perhaps not. Perhaps that's the core of it.
Okay.
I'm not an idealist. I mean, I believe in physical reality.
Okay. So when you say free will, you're not saying that. Because I think if we can shake the notion of free will, the way that most people understand free will, I think it's advantageous for society, because then there is a certain sympathy for everyone. That's not to say that we shouldn't put the subway guy in prison for life. We should. I mean,
I agree with that, but you don't have to chuck out free will for that. You have to realize it's highly constrained, and that a lot of people are victims of their circumstances. Absolutely. And we should have sympathy for everyone who's like a criminal, I believe. I mean, abolish prisons for men and treat people humanely. No, you can have institutions where you care for people who are total psychopaths.
Bob Menendez deserves to be in prison.
Yeah, maybe. Oh, he deserves. we deserve protection.
I got Bijou to walk back the abolish prison.
No, it doesn't have to be the prison industrial complex here. I'm not walking back. Abolish prisons as they exist today, but have the proper protection for society, from the psychopaths and the crazy. I know you still call them prison. I'm triggering. I'm trolling you a little bit. Like it's like the defund the police kind of thing or abolish the police or whatever. It's like it's just an emotive argument. But I'm not opposed to that kind of hair on fire activist language from time to time, just to get a debate going, right? I think the prison industrial complex is cruel, and it's just a martyrdom of people who should not be.
I agree. Back to the free will point, though. I think we define free will slightly differently, so we're gonna have to come up with an agreed definition.
But that's the problem with a lot of my philosophical debates, which I tend to not have with people because it's a lot of definitions, and I have a lot of non-standard views, so I just write about it, and I love chatting with you about it whenever we can. But
I enjoy it too. I enjoy it too.
Not our main thing. So
I enjoy it too. We went off the rails before the fourth hour, but
you're deterministically enjoying it, whereas I've got a choice about whether I enjoy it or walk out and say.
But you don't have a choice. You don't have a choice. Your circumstances made you enjoy it because you're talking with me.
My circumstances have made me enjoy it. I love it.
I guess here's my point.
Physical lens on. You're right.
And I think we do better for society to get rid of the idea that we all have free will, right? Because I think
you need to define it better.
No, I mean I think if I did a poll right now on Twitter about define free will for me, I think the vast majority of people would define free will in the essence of what I am, right? That the Subway guy had the free will to make his decision, right? And my point is, no, he had no free will. No, that was always going to be determined.
No, he was highly constrained. No, he had free will, but he was highly constrained.
No,
right?
it was
he had free will in the popular sense that he's aware, he's conscious of himself. He has a subjective component to his thinking, but he was unable to control his brain, basically.
My point is, if this universe played out the exact same way again, that he'd make the exact same decisions, assuming the dice. No, it's not ridiculous. Assuming the dice. Time out. Assuming the dice behind the curtain got rolled the exact same way, he would end up making the exact same decision.
You're just creating a tautology, Doug.
And it was all determined that way. Yeah,
it doesn't help to just make a tautological argument. Come on.
I don't think the Subway guy is getting out.
Who was it back in the chat? I think it was Ghost or Nora or Ty. You've got to look at. Well, I think Derek maybe. I forget. It's scrolled off the screen, but you've got to look at the fact that a tiny change at the Planck scale level will, by non-linear effect.
I don't disagree. That's what I'm saying. If you could replay it all over again, I agree. One tiny little change, one different roll of the dice. I know you can't replay it, but one different roll of the dice obviously has different outcomes. But if the different roll of the dice is different, then the way that manifests itself is still determined. It's still predetermined. It's not.
Oh, I see what you mean.
It's not. It's not that there's some freedom of the individual to make a decision at that point that is separate from the material world that we live in.
Predetermination that doesn't work out in the physics. Physics is not predetermined. So
No.
I don't know what you're talking about.
No. Okay. Quantum mechanics says there's some dice rolling behind the curtain that we can't see, right?
Stop there. What is that dice rolling?
We don't know. I mean, we
don't know. Exactly.
We haven't figured it out. But you
can't say it's not free will,
and you can't say that it is free will. And the only thing that we can observe is non-free will, which is the world that we do.
The only thing that we
which is the only thing that we can measure, taste, whatever. Right? I mean, that's all. That's all we have.
Things is not the cause of things, right? So you got to look at what is the cause of things.
Which we can't get to, right? We don't have the access to get there.
Yes, but it doesn't mean there is no cause. It's not. It doesn't mean
but by definition, it means that we will never have an answer for whatever that is.
That's right. We'll never have an answer in terms of mathematics and physics.
Yeah, we will never get to touch that realm, and so it doesn't exist. Right. So what we have is
no.
is deterministic. I shouldn't have said. I shouldn't have.
We can observe it.
I shouldn't have said that it doesn't exist. I shouldn't have said it doesn't exist. Argument. I didn't mean to say that, Bijou.
Yeah, I know. I'm pulling you. I'm punching you in the arm, in the shoulder, real hard there, trying to get a decent bruise.
All right, that was a good. We got it.
If some logician analyzes us together, we probably quite agree a lot. But you've got the metaphysics wrong, I think, because you're just ignoring it. You're just saying, "Oh, it doesn't exist. We don't have to because we don't."
No. I took back. It doesn't exist. What I meant to say is we don't know what exists behind that.
Yes.
We don't know.
Right.
Because of that, and we can't know what's back there. So you can't make any. You can't make.
No.
If you can know, then it's part of the material universe.
No.
Yes.
If your mind is non-physical or has a non-physical aspect to it that interacts with the physical universe, this is at the boundary, right? I said all the action happens at the boundary, modern cosmological holography theory, right? Then it's easy to see that your mind doesn't have to be, physics. In terms of physics, it's a process, right? Your mind is kind of a process. It goes on in time. If you think about it just physically, like a modern psychologist would.
Okay, how would I ever know? How would I ever know where my mind?
Because you know the number pi. You know of a perfect circle. You know so many things.
No. How would I know? How would I ever know that there's a non-physical part to my mind?
Well, you don't know for sure because it's not a scientific subject, but you can know. Like you can know about perfect circles and the number pi. I'll keep coming back to that just to plug it. These are non-physical things, and so how do you know about them? It's like I can't tell you. I can't tell you how you know about them. It's just a fact about how the mind works. Is that we understand non-physical things like algorithms and Gödel's theorem and all sorts of stuff. Of course, I'm really focusing on the mathematics because mathematics is my area. But you could talk about all sorts of other things like love and compassion and.
Okay, so these are
all sorts of things.
Okay,
these cannot be physically defined. They're not even mathematically definable. If you try to define them mathematically, you get paradoxes all over the place, and yet they exist in our minds, and we have a collective understanding of them. So you could also say perhaps they're platonic. But does everyone have any sure scientific knowledge of any of this stuff? Of course not. It's the whole beauty of it all is that it's beyond science and mathematics. And if you don't recognize that, I just feel sorry for you. I'm sorry, man. I feel real sorry for you. You should maybe.
What am I not recognizing though? I mean, I'm aware of these abstract ideas of love. I mean, I obviously don't have the mathematical. Wherewithal but I understand the concept of pi. I get this. I guess what I'm not understanding is your claim is there is the dice roll behind the curtain that somehow our brain interacts with.
I don't want to tie myself to a particular model because
our mind. I'm just. Okay, so
I don't know what the dice roll is.
Either do I, and that's what I'm saying. That's my point. Is for all intents and purposes, it actually doesn't exist because we'll never have access to it.
That's your faulty logic. Just because I cannot know something doesn't mean I cannot have some understanding of it. Like there's a perfectly good logical proof of the existence of God, but it depends on whether you
there's no
accept the axioms. No, totally.
Oh yeah, okay, yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah, I agree. If I accept the axioms, I mean I agree. Yeah,
but it's non-constructive. Non-constructive. It doesn't tell you what God is. And does that mean this concept that you've defined doesn't exist? Of course not. It means it logically could exist, and you just got to take it on faith and belief that it does. And of course, a lot of people don't, and that's fine. That's that's their freedom to choose to not believe. It's a free choice, right? What Descartes said about it is that God is not malicious, or if you like, the universe. If you want to be a what's his name? The guy that the universe is God, basically. Spinoza. If you want to be a Spinozarian, then it's the same kind of thing. It's like the universe is not malicious, so it's not deliberately hiding from us. It's not like some computer running on some kid's basement, like like a kind of the Matrix type of metaphor, because that just is an infinite regress. It's like, well, then what is that supercomputer running on, etc., just infinite regress. And so there's a whole lot of things, a whole lot of mysteries that we don't know, but just because we don't know them and we can't know them doesn't mean they don't exist. But we can still know of them, like the number pi. You can only give me an algorithm for computing pi. You can't point to the number pi, or you can't give me a perfect circle, but yet I know what it is. I know that pretty well. I pretty darn well know what a perfect circle is. That's one thing I know, but a whole lot of other things I cannot know. All right, it doesn't mean they don't exist.
All right.
Anyway, that was your logic.
We'll wrap it up.
You agreed that you were wrong on that point.
Yeah, on the one point that it doesn't exist. I agree that I cannot.
That's all I need.
I agree. I agree that I can prove that, or that I agree that I cannot prove that there's no one behind the curtain rolling the dice.
By the way, I hope this gets us a few extra views on the after stream watches. But did you catch the I don't know if they were a Patreon, but a follower who thought that Ryan was reading Michel Foucault.
Yeah, I don't know who. I didn't know who that was, but yeah, that
was interesting because I was trying to ask them, what it was that Ryan was saying that was, postmodern Foucaultian or whatever analysis of power. So I thought today I would try and boost us by just giving a few random noises to do with Foucault and postmodernism, just to see if we get some extra things. So I'll just say this complete just symbols coming out of my mouth. Foucault, and Foucault. Power. Derrida, Deleuze. Baudrillard. Power. MMT gives you the power. Power plays politics. Power technology.
What am I doing? What are we doing?
Power. Foucault. There you go. Hope that affected the algorithm in the right way.
All right, guys. God, it is good. I had one more market thing to talk about, but I think I'm going to wait until next week. I'll put it in the to-do list. Sorry
to derail.
No, I freaking loved it. No, I loved it, man. I derailed. No, I love the discussion. It's my live stream. I'm going to take it where I want to. So, and I enjoyed the discussion. I love philosophy discussions. I love religion discussions.
Well, yeah, but you got no choice in it. You have to love it.
No, I agree. I was, it was determined that would play out.
Oh my god.
No, I enjoy. I enjoy a good discussion. I hopefully. Obviously, we're all passionate about that, but I don't. It doesn't bother me that someone else has a
the thing about it,
different opinion.
It's so much fun, right? If you have a good friend to talk about it with, but the really important thing is regardless of what your stance is on free will on the philosophical questions, and whether it's determined or it's not, we still really care about other people.
Yeah.
And so we understand, we all can agree and understand what kindness and love and compassion and honesty and humility, we can understand these things and work with them, even if you're some crazy materialist who just thinks they're all social constructs or whatever. I can still agree with you that these things are important things. Yeah, man.
Amen to that. All right. I've got some CS2 to play, baby. I've got some Counter-Strike 2 to play. Man, maybe I'll boot the stream up again and start a Counter-Strike stream right after this. That's my poll. I'm going to make a poll right now. Let's see if I can put a poll up. Would anyone...
By the way, that John T. Harvey on the MMT podcast was talking in my kind of language about inflation. It's like, you got to distinguish different sources and types of inflation. There's some good, some bad. And he was saying, he's basically repeating the point that I think me and Warren and others have made is that, don't worry about the good type of inflation. Just don't worry about it. But the question for you is the tax drain the actual real bogeyman? Or should I say maybe tax compliance is the real bogeyman? One or the other. Final MMT question of the day.
Oh, no is winning right now. Oof. Now we're 50-50.
Oh, you weren't listening to me. No worries.
Well, no, who's the boogeyman? I thought it was rhetorical. I thought you were gonna answer.
Yeah, nah.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah, I guess it is partly rhetorical. Tax drain bogeyman. Anything else?
What's the bad part of the tax drain? I'm sorry. What's the purpose of the tax? Is that what the question is?
I don't know. If you're thinking about a bogeyman, right? Most people think, terrible, hair on fire about inflation. Unemployment is far worse. But if you're just talking about monetary systems, would it be like the tax drain is the real bogeyman? The tax drains and tax compliance. That would be the MMT point, right? Cost of tax compliance.
I guess I'm not getting the.
Oh, I don't know. It was just another thing I wanted to.
Well, I guess I'm not getting it's not clicking. What's trying to be expressed?
Oh, I don't know.
Okay.
Just some new framing. Talk about tax compliance as a bogeyman instead of inflation. If you mention it to your friends, okay. It might be a conversation. I guess I'm saying it's a conversation opener, perhaps.
Okay.
With, people who you might be in converse with, and there's one other thing I want to say. Oh yeah, did you want to comment or leave it for next week on aliens and finance?
Aliens and finance,
or the beauty myth? Good hair equals bad fund management.
Oh yeah, did you guys see that? Yeah, that was good. No, not good hair, just good looking in general. Good looking were worse fund managers than.
Yeah.
Here's my guess as to maybe why that would happen, right? Obviously, good looking people are more trustworthy than non good looking people, and that's really don't tell
okay.
Adam and Ryan, but that's really why I want to team up with them. And they're just young, good looking. They get out there and sell our product, and people will be far more trust. But I mean, if you think about it, if there's actually no advantage to running a fund, right? And assuming that it's an even distribution, right? Any fund manager has as much of a chance as any other fund manager to beating the market versus the market beating their fund, right? So it's an even distribution, right? What psychology would tell you is that good-looking people would just be more trustworthy than non-good-looking people, right? You'd be more willing to trust someone who's good-looking with your money than not, right? And so I guess I'm debunking. I guess I'm debunking my own.
Yeah.
Because I guess what I'm saying.
I guess what people say, talk about honest eyes and honest face, and it only marginally correlates with beauty.
I guess what I'm thinking though is depending on how the study went, it just seems like it'd be more likely that more money would be invested with good-looking people, right? And
I don't know.
And therefore, but if they sampled 20 ugly people and 20 good-looking people, right, it was an equal sample, then I guess you'd have to assume that both of their returns would be equal at 2020. But yeah,
no, I'm not following. I don't know.
Well, and maybe that's it. Maybe Warren Buffett, who's just so good-looking and distorted the. That's what I'm saying. Is it? Do they take right? Do they just get two samples, good-looking and not good-looking, gather the 100 fund managers, and then compare their returns, or did they take the entirety of fund managers, who I would agree generally would probably just be like the fund managers who are able to pull in more funds would just be the better looking ones, right? Assuming what people ultimately choose on is looks.
Yeah, if it's like you, I think it goes for YouTubers maybe, but I reckon the original is maybe a little bit dubious in social science research, right? I'd be fairly dubious of it. They probably haven't teased out all the correlations and confounding facts.
Yeah.
Because there is an honesty. I mean, you and I, you know it, right? I know, we know it. We look at people and they just look honest, and it only correlates with, supposed beauty or handsomeness, right? It's not actually that they're beautiful. It's just that they're not totally disgusting. They're well dressed. They have a good appearance. They care about their appearance, and they just will have honest eyes or a nice warm smile or something like that. Which obviously it can be faked, but if you're just sort of meeting someone randomly and they're not prepared or whatever, then I guess. And that's how con men kind of operate. They can fake those kind of body languages, but I guess they're the exception. I don't know. They're not the rule, right? It's not like all fund managers are con men.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway.
All right.
That was an interesting little thing that came up.
Anyway.
And the aliens in finance.
I think it explains why I'm so good at this macro stuff, though.
Yeah. That's right. Got the right amount of grey on that old Irish beard there.
Yeah.
Sorry, is it Scottish? Scottish or Irish?
I'm English and French. Yeah.
Oh, you're French.
Yeah.
Just the right tinge of grey there. It's all just going. It's all happening there with the MMT macro trader.
The way Bijou was like, "Oh, you're
totally
French. You're French, huh? Okay."
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Majority English, but English and French.
Lots of it's Maori, French, Pitcairn Islanders. My ancestors were mutineers on the Bounty. I think. I know.
All right.
All sorts. Yeah, man.
It's that time. I think we wrap it up. I'm glad to be back, man. I'm glad to be back. Another great stream.
Good to back and even sexier in voice.
Feeling good.
Awesome.
Feeling good. Yeah.
Anything else?
Ghost on that. Okay, so what is Doug's game roster, or are you a CS minion? What is my game roster? What sort of games do I play? For the most part, I play CS or Valorant with my buddies on Friday. God, I would stream that and talk MMT, but I think I would get my stream banned.
Right. Why would that be?
Five guys pretending to be 13-year-olds playing video games. I mean, it's just
pretending. They're pretending.
Pretending to be 13-year-olds again. Yeah.
What is pretending in a deterministic universe?
I do like VR, but I just wish there were better games. I don't get into, I could play through the Cyberpunk update though. That just came out. That looks cool. The Phantom Liberty. That was a fun game. So I do like open world games like that, and kind of story driven open world games. Those are fun.
Sounds good.
All right, man. I'm boring Bijou with the game talk, so we're gonna wrap it up.
I'll leave you guys do that. Have fun with your Mrs. Douglas.
Yeah.
That sounds like good fun. All right. You want to do an outro and say goodbye until next week?
You've got it. Yeah. Oh no, my God, Ty, Cyberpunk was great, man. I don't know, man. Ty's like, dude. Or,
that's a game.
Bijou's like, God, come on, man. Yeah, both actually. Yeah, I agree. All right, man. I am gonna wrap it up. Not wrap it up. I'm gonna let Bijou wrap it up and give us his outro.
All right, man. Okay. Well, it's gonna be more Pomo. Foucault. He was a pervy Pomo. Da-dee-da. Language makes a leader. Deluse. Difference makes a difference. Leotard. Philosophy and ballet leotard. Baudrillard. A little media imitator. So sure. He wasn't all so sure. Bourdieu. Drank too much Bourdieu. Christeva. Grounded her semiotica. Butler. Gendered little truffler. Haraway. Cyborgs in the fray. Rorty. Pragmatism's his forte. Spivak. Periphery, spake back. Da-di-da. Text maze confused his libido. Deluse. Rhizomes blew his fuse. Da-di-da. Deconstructed his croissant. Foucault. Power trips in the restaurant. Thank you for pushing my MMT reset button. Back to reality. For more MMT postmodernism, tune in next week, same time, same MMT time, same MMT channel. Bye for now.
All right, guys, have a good night. If I play some CS, I will stream it tonight, so keep your notifications on. All right, have a good night, everyone. We will see you all next week. Thanks for joining. It was a fun night. Glad to have everyone back.
Indeed.
See you next week.